In an era of infinite scrolling and instant group chats, the prospect of being truly alone has become a source of anxiety. We are hyper-connected digitally, yet the silence of our own company feels increasingly threatening. Modern culture reinforces this by framing solitude as a failure. If you are on your own, the assumption is that you've been sidelined, that you are lacking something necessary to belong. But the most paralyzing isolation doesn't happen when we're alone in a room. It happens when we are surrounded by people, yet feel entirely invisible. Our current metrics for isolation are broken. We calculate loneliness based on our physical distance from a crowd, while ignoring the psychological state of the person standing inside it. This crisis is not new. Thousands of years ago on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the warrior Arjuna reached this same breaking point. He stood at the center of a literal war zone. Thousands of friends, family members, and mentors surrounded him, while the deafening roar of conch shells and horses filled the air. Despite this massive presence, Arjuna felt a crushing, singular isolation. He was torn apart by a moral conflict that no one in that sea of people could solve for him. This is the central tension we still face. How do you survive an internal collapse when the world is screaming at you and there is no physical escape? Lord Krishna, acting as Arjuna's guide, responds to this panic with a radical strategy. He doesn't offer a distraction or try to pull Arjuna back into the safety of the crowd. Krishna conceptually freezes the entire battlefield. He turns the chaos into a private, inescapable void, forcing Arjuna to remain in the very silence he fears. This moment introduces chapter 6 of the Gita, which defines yogic solitude. It describes the act of intentionally withdrawing the senses from external noise to cultivate internal self-dependence. Krishna presents this aloneness as a spiritual mirror. In this space, the distractions of the world fall away, leaving only the truths that actually matter. Facing the self directly makes isolation the necessary laboratory for Arjuna's recovery. His time alone was the only environment where a solution could be found. When the noise of the world is muted, you lose the ability to hide from your own thoughts. You are forced to hear everything you've been avoiding. In total solitude, the self acts as your only true friend or most persistent enemy. All profound transformation in nature follows this pattern. A germinating seed or a chrysalis strictly requires this dark, silent isolation to reorganize and grow. Being cracked open by silence is uncomfortable, but it is the only environment where human intuition becomes loud enough to follow. You cannot evolve while your mind is merely reacting to a crowd. Growth is a direct byproduct of mastering periods of absolute silence. These side-by-side vessels represent the divergence between being lonely and being alone. Loneliness is a state of deficit. It is the feeling that you are incomplete and require constant external attention to remain functional. Being alone is a state of internal stability. It means you are so deeply anchored that your internal peace remains steady, regardless of whether the world offers praise or distress. Reaching this balance transforms isolation into a reservoir of focus and psychological strength. You stop being a victim of the silence and start using it as a tool. When time resumes, Arjuna is still on the battlefield, but his internal reality has been restructured. He is now capable of facing the war because he is no longer fighting himself. Arjuna realized his season of isolation served as the specific preparation needed for the trial ahead. The silence didn't break him. It built the clarity he required to act. If you are currently in a season of isolation, stop viewing it as a detour or a sign of failure. When you stop running from the silence, you find that being truly alone means you are finally in the company of your true self. That realization is the main road to your next evolution.